Hello, and welcome to another episode of Taylor Talks Comics. Today, I'm going to do an unboxing video from Barnes & Noble. Stay tuned. All right, so I had a Barnes & Noble gift card, so I ordered some books off of their website. I just want to show how they're packaged because people care about packaging sometimes. It has this thing where it's like perforated there, so I can break it down right there, but also it came pretty loosey-goosey up here. I think I might be able to just untuck this, and then there's my books. You can see there's no bubble wrap or anything, but I think it should be fine. I'm not too precious about the condition of my books. I know some people are, but yeah, so there's that. So what I got though was they're all from Floating World Comics, and they're all part of the Power Comics imprint of Floating World. So let's show them off here. One of them is like one of my most anticipated books of the year, so I'm really stoked about that. Oh, this is pretty beat up. All right, first I got the complete Jontar. Let me move the camera here, adjust it so you can see Jontar in all his glory. So this is the complete Jontar. I think this came out last year. You can see it's from Floating World and part of the Power Comics imprint. Power Comics is a YouTube channel. I think they started off as a Tumblr actually back in the day, where they're showing off Power Comics, which is their kind of designation of a niche genre of comics. So I'll probably describe that here in a little bit, what that means. But they do have a YouTube channel, so go subscribe. They're awesome. I'll probably link them down below. Here's the back cover though. And then here's the spine. And the spine, I think, yeah, has some shiny foil there on the sword and lettering here. Oh, and the silhouette right there. And the front cover, the lettering up there, I'm trying to get it into the light there, and the sword are nice and shiny. Oh, and Tony Lorenz's signature there, 1986. So all these that I got are all Power Comics and from the Power Comics imprint of Floating World. Floating World Comics in general is becoming one of my favorite publishers. I believe they're a comic shop out in the Pacific Northwest area, but they do a lot of, like, I don't know, art house comics and niche Power Comics and stuff, I guess. These Power Comics, though, are of the 1980s black and white boom era, where they're like independent comics, kind of amateurish art style. It's very endearing, and they're all action-packed and all kind of remind me of like grindhouse movies or like B movies, B-movie action movies that you'd get in like the video stores, kind of like that same genre but for comics. And the complete Jontar here is, I believe he's an elf. I don't know much about any of these books either, but I'm so excited to read these. You better believe that I'll be doing videos on these very, very soon, because I'm going to be reading these. Probably my next reads will be all three of these books. I'm very excited about that, or excited about reading these. So you open up here, there's a picture of Jontar. Table of contents is great here. We have all the issues of Jontar included. We have an introduction by Evan Husney and Remy Bennett of Power Comics. Those are the two gentlemen that run Power Comics. Also, Evan Husney, I believe just Evan. I don't know if Remy is too, but I know Evan Husney for sure is one of the producers of the Dark Side of the Ring documentary series on Vice about pro wrestling. So it's really cool because I love that series as well. Foreword is by Jontar creator Bill W. Miller. And then we get issues 1 through 4. And then we get Jontar Returns Introduction by artist Tom Tarpey. And then Jontar Returns 1 through 5. Afterward by Bill W. Miller. A cover gallery. And then some other extras and stuff. So this is what I love about these kinds of collections, is that it's not just that they packed in all the issues of Jontar and then threw it into a paperback and then, handed it to you. There really is a lot of historical context involved. And in order to preserve this kind of history of comics, you really need to have that kind of historical context included with it, and it kind of makes the reading experience with these books a little bit more interesting because you get to see kind of the behind the scenes, both in real time of when these were coming out, but also in present day of how they're viewed, thinking back on them. The introduction here is typewritten, which I love because it looks like you get some of those 80s black and white boom comics, in the opening cover will have like these typewritten introductions, but this is actually from 2023, but it still fits that same mold of this era of comics. So this is their front cover. So if you've ever seen Jontar, you can see it looks like this. It looks like it's done, at home by a kid. I don't know how old Tony Lorenz was when he did this, but it looks like it was done like on a copy Xerox machine. They even kept it looks like they kept all the inside parts of each issue too, with the publisher policy there. And then you get the issues. So you see of the 3 comics I got, the 3 books, you can see this one is the most, or the least accomplished artwork, I guess. But that's endearing to me because it's really just a new cartoonist starting out and drawing to the best of their abilities and just drawing out all of their ideas. And you still get some great action scenes and stuff. And one thing I kind of put my eye on this art style or this genre of comics is Ben Mara and his art style and his kind of comics. I was meant to bring it down here, but I've been reading the all-time comics stuff by Josh Bayer, and Benjamin Mara does a lot of artwork in there too that I love. There's that panel from the opening front cover here, which is blown up. And one aspect of these comics, of these black and white boom 80s comics, is that they're like violent and you can see some blood and stuff, but since it's black and white, all the blood's black in here. Reader's reaction. This is Bill Miller calling for letters, probably, which I love that too. I love that they kept intact everything that was in the original issues. Here's the reader's reaction, and here's the front cover for the next one. So yeah, I don't know much more than what I've told you. And you can see art already growing as you go too, which is, it's another aspect I love about these, is you see the progression of art happen so rapidly. But I don't know much more about these beyond the behind the scenes kind of stuff. As far as the story goes, I don't know, but I am excited to find out. But yeah, those early days of a cartoonist, you really see their art grow like rapidly. Like if you take like a John Byrne of, I don't know, the early 80s and compare him to John Byrne of the 90s, you don't see a lot of change. Like you can notice some things that he might have changed over time and whatnot. But if you would have taken John Byrne's art, let's say from like, I don't know, when he started first drawing comics probably in the 70s sometime, and compared it to his late 80s stuff, you'd probably see a rapid growth. So it's those early years where you see that kind of rapid growth happen. And that's what I find endearing about these comics as well. So here's the next cover. And again, you can see the art style changing, which I think the artist does change throughout the series. I believe it's Bill Miller is the only constant. He's the writer, but the artist changes throughout. And then I want to get to the Jontar Returns era. Let me see. Let's see what's different here. Okay, so this is the last issue of the first Jontar series. And then from the artist, to hear some classified advertisements. And then we get Jontar Returns. So I don't know what went into that either. I don't know why Jontar returned, why he left, anything like that. So I'm excited to learn that in context here. Again, I love these little articles and introductions to find that kind of stuff out. And I will have more information on that when I do read it. And I'll probably do a separate video on each of these books as I go through. Just because I love, this is like my new thing in comics that I'm getting into, is these power comics. So I'll be excited to explore them and showcase them more on my channel. So here's the Jontar Returns era. Here's a cover gallery. These look like full scans. These look like photographic, or maybe scans of the original issues. You get some color there. Oh, that one's cool with all that color there. That would have been a really cool cover. That definitely would have stood out on the racks if you walked into a shop and saw that. Oh, here's some back matter, behind the scenes stuff. Conversation with Jontar creator Bill Miller. I think Evan and Husney. I watched the video on this on Power Comics. I think this interview is all done through email. So this was a modern day interview of Bill Miller looking back at the series. And this was a lost issue, I believe. So issue number 2, I believe the art was all done by Tony Lorenz, and then maybe for one reason or another, it was never published with this artwork, so the actual issue 2 had a different artist. I'm trying to recollect here. Which I guess this is far in the weeds. I could have probably talked about this more. Yeah, I'll talk about this more when I get to reading this, but so yeah, you have two versions of issue number 2 in here. One by Tony Lorenz and the other one by Dane Barrett. So it'd be really cool to compare those. I know Cartoonist Kayfabe did a video back in the days comparing like the G.I. Joe issue that Todd McFarlane did, and then the version that Larry Hama had redrawn, and they compared like how 2 different artists interpreted the script. So that'll be interesting to compare those 2 versions of issue number 2 here. That's the only place this has been printed to, is this version of issue number 2. And then we have an article here from Rantoul Press. So this must have appeared in some magazine of some sort. And then Psycho Test. Is this like this must be another short comic that one of the creators had a hand in. And then here's more Power Comics and articles, or not articles, but other releases in the Power Comics line. And this is coming out later this year, Savage World, which is more Tony Lorenz comics. It's a Citizen Kane of 80s outsider small press comics. Power Comics on YouTube right there. And on Instagram. So these are some that I want to pick up too. The ones that you don't see in this video. These are the only Power Comics I own. So anything that's not in this video, I'm wanting to pick up. Sorry, I got stuff on my table there. Up next, we have Vendetta, Holy Vindicator. And this has some cool shiny foil on the cover too. Look at those eyes right there with the demon in the background, the flames. And then the lettering there is also shiny. And then the spine, there's nothing shiny on the spine. Oh, trying to get it in focus there. Try. Okay. The spine just says Vendetta, Holy Vindicator. It really doesn't want to get into focus. And it has a red bullet on the top because that was the cartoonist. Doesn't have his name on the front. Steve McCardle. There we go. Steve McCardle's publishing house was Red Bullet Comics, which he's now brought back. And I think there's going to be a new issue of Vendetta coming out soon via Floating World. So it says 30th anniversary edition of the most righteously raging achievement in 90s small press comics. And I love the writing here too, this little blurb. Just when you thought you'd seen every supreme extreme in the superhero megaverse, Power Comics unearths the decades-old, skin-flangingly singular work of Steve McCardle for its 30th anniversary. From the start, McCardle was a maestro of blood and mayhem, an overlooked 90s creative genius wrapped in black leather and raw ambition. So you get Power Comics again, Floating World Comics. Yeah, so this was a 90s comic. So you think of the era of like Image Comics coming out. And this is done all in the black and white style of the 80s boom, but it's done, years later. Great image that could be ripped right from any sort of those early Image comics. But it still has that raw energy of the black and white 80s boom that separates it from Image and makes it its own thing. So Steve McCardle dedicating it to his dad, a real-life hero, which he also dedicated to men and women who served the world for the world of freedom. I believe his dad was in the military. It also includes every issue of Vendetta, Holy Vindicator, and then the Artillery one-shot. Has an intro here with Evan Husney and Zach Carlson. And then you get right into the issues. Which I think... Yeah. Okay. Which the artwork in this one, I don't know. It's hard to pick out my favorite from these three, but the artwork in this one just looks amazing. Like it's so, like, at one hand accomplished, but still has that raw energy of a new cartoonist finding their way in the industry. But like, I don't know how this wasn't a super mega popular series in the 90s. And it had its like cult following, but it should have, I feel like it should have been even bigger. Like, you got these guys fighting with a chain. Looks like a dog chain match between like Roddy Piper and Greg Valentine. A cool motorcycle scene. Yeah, so this has like a lot of like religious overtones and whatnot, but it's this like just badass vigilante. This guy's name's Bludgeon, but it's spelled that way, and he's just a massive monster with big muscles. Such a cool, just like fun, crazy comic. There's Artillery making his debut, which, I mean, you talk about 90s extreme, like he has everything you want. You got the pouches, the big shoulder pads, spikes. He looks like he's ripped maybe from a Mad Max movie. A mohawk, big guns. This looks like a Stephen Platt image almost. And this is a little bit before Stephen Platt. So this is Artillery one shot. Is up next. You get one issue of Vindicator and then one issue of Artillery, it looks like. Yeah, just like double page splash. Just amazing, amazing stuff. But I definitely want to highlight this because again, like I said, this should have been more popular in the 90s. It should be more popular today. Like, everyone should be, that likes fun, crazy, bombastic, extreme comics should be seeking this out for sure. So I'll be definitely doing a separate video on this as well. I'm hoping that from highlighting it here and then highlighting it in separate videos too, it'll kind of put bigger eyes on these properties because it's just amazing stuff. That's one of the covers too, which I think what they did is they had the covers in black and white, and then I think there's a colored signature at the end, maybe? Or maybe it's the other book I'm thinking of. Never mind. I think it's the third book I'm going to show off that does that. Show off some more of the artwork. That's the back cover image. Right there. Just so much wild, raw energy. You get an interview of Red Bullet Comics with Stephen McCardle. And his Power Comics interviewing again, and probably this happened through email as well. You see an early drawing of the Vindicator from Stephen. That other, I wonder if they have a thing in the back here. No, they don't. But Crowbar 9, which was on the back kind of catalog image of what other books they all have to offer. Crowbar 9, was that Stephen McCardle? I don't know, but it's definitely something I want to reach out and pick up. Here's an awesome image of Stephen McCardle with all the characters he created behind him. It's always cool seeing that. I always love seeing an artist self-portrait at the drawing table with their characters behind him. Here's some pinups, which these are some cool pinups from some famous people throughout comics. Like, this is Gene Colan with inks by Stephen McCardle. So Gene Colan, who, if you're a fan of my channel, you know that I've been reading the Daredevil run by Gene Colan. So it's really cool that it's kind of serendipitous that in my own comics reading right now, I've been reading a lot of Gene Colan, and then I get this cool pinup in the back of here. Here's an Artillery pinup by McCardle. Lord Leviathan card. Oh yeah, there was cards put up back in the day. So these are the trading card artwork. Here's George Tuska of like early Marvel fame. He did some Iron Man issues, I think some Avengers issues and whatnot. So he did this image and this one. So he did a couple commission pinups, which Steve McCardle said these have not been printed anywhere else. They've not been seen anywhere else. George Tuska did these too as well. They're kind of just done for his own enjoyment, I guess. But now he's putting them in here, which is cool. Vendetta custom figure. And some background stuff here. But yeah, he's bringing Vendetta back for another issue. Here's some letters to Vendetta that readers wrote. So it'll be cool to read. And he's doing it like now. There's Stephen McCardle right there. Like he's doing a 2024 version of this character, revisiting him after 30 years. So it'll be really cool to read that as well. And then here's the one that one of my most anticipated books of the year. I can't wait to pop this guy open. This one is actually wrapped in plastic, which is unlike the other two. They were just loosey-goosey. which I will say, since there's no like bubble wrap or anything around these for Barnes & Noble, which if you're a long-time comics purchaser, you'll notice this too. Like when the books slide around, like the black on here kind of wears off a little bit, so it's kind of looks faded or whatever. It's not a huge deal, but it did protect this because same thing would have happened here if it wasn't wrapped in plastic. Again, not a big deal, but all right. So this is New York City Outlaws. This is Ken Landgraf's awesome 1980s black and white boom era comic. First time I think it's ever been reprinted in all the issues together. Here's the awesome spine, New York City Outlaws in just big letters. And here's the back cover. Again, Power Comics, Floating World Comics. So, you open it up, and you get an awesome image of Ken Landgraf. Ken Landgraf was a huge figure in the black and white 80s boom. But in the mainstream, he inked a few issues here and there of, I think, Marvel or DC, I can't remember. But he never had a big presence, I guess, in his bibliography from the mainstream comics. It's mostly some of these more outlaw, underground kind of stuff that he did. Here's the table of contents. Again, this is a full, with historical context and whatnot to add to the reading experience, which is really cool. And here's one thing I'm excited about is this introduction by Jim Rugg. In this image here, I know this personally because I was the editor on Wizard Magazine, issue 2, which is 420-page magazine full of articles and comics and whatnot, all put out by Cosmic Lion Productions. You can order it on cosmiclionproductions.com. But for that, the guy that runs Cosmic Lion had commissioned Ken Landgraf to draw a picture of Jim Rugg and Ed Piskor in the Ken Landgraf style. So it's cool that this was reused for that. But yes, Jim Rugg is the guy that turned me on to the idea of reading New York City Outlaws from the Cartoonist Kayfabe channel. He's a huge fan of the black and white boom era. He even has a black and white, the BW zine that he put out. I have a video where I show this off. And this is upside down. Jim Rugg put this together, and it has it doesn't talk about anything. It just has panels and pages from the black and white comics that he loved from that era. And there's got to be some Ken Landgraf in here. I'd be surprised if there wasn't. That's available on Jim Rugg's website. So he loves this era. Anything I've learned about this era, I pretty much learned from listening to Jim Rugg on his videos and whatnot. So it's great to read this. I can't wait to read this introduction from him. Now, what they did for the New York City Outlaw issues is that they have a black and white copied version of the cover, which you can see looks really like not great quality and whatnot. But don't fret, because it's great to have that as a chapter break between issues, so you know you're starting a new issue. It's one thing I would complain about in collected editions a lot, is there's no chapter break with a new issue, but they're in there. But then at the back, if you know anything about printing, you know that when you do a book like this, they're usually done in 8-page signatures. So every 8 pages is a signature of pages. You can't really see it right there, but anytime there's like a fold right there in the book, that's like a signature. So if you could do one full color signature of 8 pages anywhere in the book and kind of put it in, and it avoids you having to do a full color printing of the entire book. So you have full color versions of the covers in the back, is what I'm trying to say. They kept them all in the back in the full color version, which I always talk about this too. I preferred the real actual cover before each issue. I want that experience of reading the real issue as if it came out on the stands. Now, to save cost, to have the full color version back here, I feel like this is the perfect kind of compromise to that. So this is the first issue. In New York City Outlaws, from my understanding, was kind of inspired by Warriors, the Warriors movie from back in the 70s, 80s. I forget I want to say it's late 70s, early 80s. I love that movie. I watched it with my dad as a kid, and I've watched it 100 times since then. So you get kind of like the different gangs of the New York fighting. You get kind of like the that sleazy kind of 70s, 80s grindhouse era kind of content to it, with all the deep-seated drama, action, and violence. And also these characters, the New York City Outlaws, are wearing these kind of spikes and leather that I loved in pro wrestling back in the day, with like Demolition and Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. But also kind of reminds me of Mad Max, which is... Mad Max is what inspired those tag team wrestlers. Anyways. And I believe it starts off kind of like street level. I've never read these before. I've been wanting to find these issues in back issue bins, but it seems like ever since cartoonist kayfabe became a thing, that through the kayfabe effect, everyone was searching for these issues, so they became expensive. They're hard to find. So that's why I'm so excited that this collection finally exists, so I can read these and not have to pay an arm and a leg for each issue. So I've never read these, but I think, to my understanding, there is some gutter loss on that splash page. It gets a little bit crazier as it goes on. Like, there's aliens and monsters that are introduced throughout later parts of the series. This one has a third color involved, so they added a red to it, which is really fun. Adds kind of like that grindhouse, kind of that raw energy of an amateur cartoonist in there too. It looks different than anything that Marvel or DC are putting out at the time. So I can't wait to dive into this as well. A bunch of zip tones used all over the page is another signature aspect to those outlaw 80s comics. Yeah, so I cannot wait to dive into this one as well. I don't know which one I'm going to start first between the three of these books. You even kept the advertisements in here, which is cool. I always love to see that too, because you're seeing like the context of what was on sale back then. Battalion, New York's #1 heavy metal band. Not a big heavy metal guy myself, but I want to seek this band out and listen to their stuff. I love the outfits they're wearing. Here's another great 2-page splash. Oh yeah, you get spaceships and robots and aliens involved in here, so it gets even crazier, and that's what I love about comics, just the crazy, fun things you can add in to this. There's no limit to what you can add to these characters. Here's another Battalion ad. Yeah, I can't wait. This is going to be amazing. And here's some more cover. Oh, here's another issue, it looks like. Trying to get to the back matter. This one's just chock full of comics. It's amazing. Choice Comics. We got Starfighters 1, 2, 4, and 5. Fantastic art from Landgraf, Neil Adams, Gil Blyberg, and Della Rosa. New York City Outlaws, Barbarian Women. Oh, that's artist Ken Landgraf. Oh, it's his portfolio. Yeah, in the 80s, they would do these artist portfolios, which are pretty cool, before the artist edition existed. Here's an interview with Ken Landgraf. It was conducted in January 2024. So this book just came out like a couple weeks ago. So that's as new of an interview you can get with Mr. Landgraf. And Ken Landgraf still does, he still sells commissions on his eBay store, by the way. Look up, I think it's called Landgraphics. I think if you just look up Ken Landgraf on eBay, you can scroll down a little bit and find him. But he does commissions where they're really affordable too. So if you want a really cool commission from Ken Landgraf doing your characters or yourself or whatever, seek him out. He's still a working cartoonist. Here's a concept movie poster for Jason Eisner's New York City Outlaws adaptation. So they're going to make a movie, but they never did. And then here's the color covers. So again, the covers break up each chapter, but then here's the color versions back here. So you're not missing anything. So yeah, that's my 3 books. I got 3 Power comics. I got these from Barnes & Noble. I guess I should have showed off the size dimensions. It does look like the Vindicator, Vendetta's taller than the other 3, and then Jontar's a little bit taller, and then New York City Outlaws is the shortest of them. But I can't wait to dive into all of these. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these, if you remember have any memories of reading these in real time in the 80s, in 90s, which one I should dive into first, which one you're excited about first. I will be doing a video on each one of these, I promise, just because I'm so excited about reading them all. Thank you, though. Give me the video a thumbs up, comment down below so we can talk more about these awesome comics. Go watch Power Comics YouTube channel and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Have a good one.